Hello.
Hello.
Excellent. There we go. Ready? We'll do a 3, 2, 1 sync. Alrighty, Anyone Podcast Episode 2. I'm here today with Heather Buckley and Jenn Wexler, who directed and produced The Ranger, and amongst other things. But we're here today to talk about The Ranger, talk about pumpkin cinema, talk about Trump. No, we won't talk about Trump.
Oh,
It's
please,
too
no.
It's too early. Well, it depends how many beers we sink before it comes out. But how are you guys doing today? Right?
Good.
I am
Excited
doing
to be
wonderful.
here.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when you talked about like all the other things, I was gonna go. Jenn Wexler is way more famous than me.
Yeah.
Way more famous.
Heather Buckley is very famous.
Well, you were my point of contact on getting you guys on, Heather. So, although like Jenn was added to the email chat, so you were actually
There you
like the
go.
ticket, and then Jenn was the bonus.
It's true. It's true. It's
Heather
like
is the golden ticket.
we can't talk about the Ranger without talking about the Jenn Wexler, the infamous Jenn Wexler.
Yeah. So you're credited as a producer on The Ranger. I'll like brief the overview. Punk kids get stuck in the woods. Ranger's chasing them, and it's sort of it. From what I've gathered, so I told Heather before this, shamefully, that I've never seen the film, but I'm very much looking forward to it. I think when we initially booked the time at IFC, you guys had just finished out there, and then but it premiered actually. Sorry to go back, but it premiered back in April, right? At What the Fest?
Yeah, we world premiered at South by Southwest in March, but our New York premiere was at What the Fest at IFC
Okay,
Center.
at IFC, yeah.
Yeah. in
You know, I
April.
could have sent you a link.
Ooh, I should have just asked you for that.
You can.
I can still.
Yeah.
So I'll watch it, and then like in 3 months we'll do another episode.
We'll
and
do the pre and post.
The pre and post.
Well, it makes sense because it'll probably be out in general population by then.
Yeah. Then I won't need the link, I guess.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me anyways, though, because I like the exclusiveness. Of,
Exactly.
Like, being,
it's like
I
the
run
producer
a podcast, so I got
sent me the link.
Yeah, got the inside look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's really exciting though, and so it's your first feature directing, right?
Yep.
I know you produced Like Me, a few other projects. Like Me is the only other.
Most
one I've
Beautiful
seen.
Island won the grand jury prize at South by Southwest.
Wow,
Little thing Jen did.
Yeah. But Like Me, I love that you've seen it. Great
Yeah.
movie. Everybody go watch it. I think it's on Amazon. Same
Yeah.
DP as The Ranger.
Oh,
And,
wow, okay.
James Seward, and a lot of the same crew as well.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I really love that movie. I think, and it's funny because there is a little bit of an aesthetic similarity from seeing the teaser for The Ranger and from seeing that film. And it's funny because like just watching the trailer for The Ranger, there's so many things. I got really excited about the film because there's so many things it reminds me of. There's sort of this obvious comparison instantly to Green Room, just because it's like a really popular film that came out recently, and you know the whole sort of punk influence in that. Is that something you guys sort of embraced, knowing that feature had come out recently?
We
or-
were like writing The Ranger when Green Room came
Right.
out, so it was already a thing that existed for us, and we already knew the aesthetic approach we wanted to take with it. It's always awesome seeing punks in film. I
Right.
think we need more
Absolutely.
punks in film.
Only punks in film.
Only punks in film.
And we know Jeremy, who did Green Room, and we love his work. He has a beautiful style. I think he has a more naturalistic style of shooting, which is gorgeous. Something like
Yeah.
Terrence Malick, and the characters feel
Totally.
like super real, grounded, kind of like I think the origin of it is kind of like a suburbia style,
Right.
while the Ranger is sort of like a more heightened
Like
throwback to sort of like media punk
Yeah.
kind of feel.
more in the vibe of like Creep Show or
Right.
like Return of the Living Dead.
And the movie was like 10 years in the making.
Yeah, when I was in college, my classmate wrote The Ranger as his senior screenplay.
No
and
kidding.
I just like read it as we had to workshop our stuff, and I was just so into this idea of these punks that go up against this park ranger, because it felt like a comic book. It felt like this like crazy 80s movie that should have already existed.
Right, exactly. No, and that's very much the vibe I got from it. Like, the aesthetic is really interesting from like the clips I've seen, and then I love the idea that the park ranger like seems like a very 80s park ranger, like the outfit, the poster. It does feel like an 80s slasher flick almost.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool because it's hard. I like this idea of everybody feels this need with cinema, especially, but in a lot of different art forms, to constantly be pushing the envelope and moving forward. And so when artists say, hold up a second, we're not done with this yet, like we still have original things to say within this genre, I find that like super intriguing because it's sort of reverting to the past, but it's still totally new, and you just want to like dwell in that idea.
Well, genre in itself is based on sort of tropes and familiar structures, and the idea is to constantly play with them. An old writer friend of mine back in the day said, like, when you're watching something like noir, we all know it's going to happen, but the brilliance of the filmmaker is that you forget about the structure. Because it always is the same structure and over again. I mean, if you watch the trailer of The Ranger, you can figure out sort of like what happens to Chelsea, what happens to The Ranger, but it's sort of like the trip that happens along the way that is transformative. Because as you say, like in the slasher film, a lot of the film focuses on the final girl and sort of her and her friends and just staying with her. And I can't think of any other slasher movie, even like Nancy is a strong final girl, that it's really, you feel like it's her story for so long.
Yeah, what we wanted to kind of do was mash up, 80s punk movies and 80s slashers, but then focus it all on this like girl who's trying to find herself amidst all this like noise and these kind of absurd characters and these absurd situations.
Yeah.
So there's this whole element of the movie that is a little bit more modern.
Sure.
Joss Whedon. I was very inspired by like Buffy the Vampire Slayer
because she's the hero and star of her own thing. Even though there's a lot of villain characters and thing comes out. And
Right. That's so interesting. I'm sorry because you just triggered me, but have you guys heard about this new Buffy project on Netflix that's coming out?
You mean that Jenn should be directing?
Yeah.
Let me get on my phone.
Is Jenn directing?
I heard that they were doing a new Buffy thing, but I didn't know it was Netflix.
Yeah, it was Netflix, and it's like, it looks very, very good. It looks like super, they're like going very dark with it.
Is there a trailer or something already?
Yeah, they dropped like a teaser.
Oh
like,
my
not so
god,
long
I
ago.
need to
Yeah,
watch
check
that
it out.
immediately.
I think it's just called Buffy, if the name of the series. I might be talking out my ass, but it looks really, really good, and kind of, it's reminiscent of like, I don't know, like, because a big part of Buffy, and I think what you're alluding to as well, is like, in any sort of film, sort of like adolescent challenges of the form is just something that I think everybody can resonate with, especially sort of like this generation of like, who am I, like trying to figure it out, like, scared shitless, everybody's confused, no one knows what's going on, the political state, you can attribute it to anything, climate change, whatever, but everybody's just like scared shitless trying to figure it out, and so to be able to capture that to some degree, regardless of what kind of film you're making in a character, I think is like really, really important.
Well, that's true about The Ranger, because it's about maturity, emotional maturity, being confused who you are. All those, that's amazing, all those things.
That's why when I was a teenager, I related so deeply to the final girl in horror movies, because they have to like come up against serious stuff and they have to take out their killer and, survive. And I felt like I was going through a similar struggle, just like getting to high school every morning and getting through the day in high school.
Sure.
So I really, even though my struggles were not quite the same as battling an insane psychopath
or supernatural forces.
Yeah,
right.
But I still felt.
But everybody's
like
got a ranger.
Deep inside,
yeah, everybody's got a ranger.
Everybody has a ranger.
Now on my end, I have no identification with the final girl, but 100% identification with all the slashers.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Wow.
So
were
final
you,
girl
were you
and a
scared working
slasher.
with Heather on this project?
I'm scared of Heather all the time.
So there's a final girl and a slasher made the ranger.
No, Heather read the script for the ranger and she wanted to play the ranger.
Did you really? That would have been so cool.
And Jeremy's commentary that he did, he talks about him being sort of like alone and an outsider, and like during when we were recording it, I was going like, yes, it's like Jason is an outsider figure, and they're fatalistic, and they're going to lose at the end. There's no way that they can no way that they could survive. So from like a counterculture point of view, it's like these poor characters who look incredibly strange and have this, and are just going to be defeated I feel very affinity towards Voorhees, who is tall and from New Jersey, much like myself, or Michael Myers and stuff like that.
Nice. What part of Jersey are you from?
Oh, I'm from Jersey City, and I was raised in Central, and then I went back to Jersey. Little fun fact: Jen and I went to the same college because a lot of University Arts made this film.
That's in Philadelphia, the University of the Arts in Philadelphia.
And you had a special screening recently.
And I just went back last week and showed it to the current screenwriting class.
Did they lose their mind?
Yeah, they loved it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I am also from New Jersey, although Heather likes to she uses it as part of her identity. Anywhere she goes, people know she's from New Jersey, whereas I try to hide the fact that I'm from New Jersey.
That's interesting. It's
Someone needs to care about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I was born in Jersey. I haven't lived there for a while, but I also claim Jersey in a weird way.
Dude, you gotta claim Jersey. I
claim Jersey, yeah. Well, one of my favorite directors of all time, Kevin Smith, made Clerks.
From Central Jersey.
A little movie called Clerks.
Clerks, the Clerks. No, it's not like The Ranger, but it's about two guys from Jersey working in a gas station, basically, as clerks, and it's pretty fantastic, and I always resonated with that. And I was like, man, I'm really happy to be from Jersey.
Everyone should know Clerks, and if they don't, they should see it immediately.
I don't even, but I don't know if Kevin Smith, as an auteur, is he's from Jersey, but I don't know if his films are truly Jersey. Do you feel his films are truly Jersey? Because people ask me this, what is the quintessential Jersey film? And I said it has to be The Sopranos. Because that's really the culture of
That's
Jersey.
That's not a film, that's a TV show.
That's all I can give them is a TV show. Because I cannot think of a movie.
I don't know, what about Mallrats? I think that's very Jersey.
Yeah, and I think Chasing Amy is very Jersey too. Although they spend a lot of time in Manhattan, but there is very much because I think they live in Red.
Yeah, capturing the culture of the Jers.
Of the Jers.
Yes.
You're coming back to the Jers. Is that what you say to your friends when you have to go home?
Yes, and I have a pin that says Jersey with a Z because people want to use it. I'm not even going to pronounce how people think that New Jersey is supposed to be pronounced, but I said it's Jersey with a Z. Jersey.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Wait, what do people say that's not Jersey?
They say Joyzy.
Joyzy.
It's what are you doing? What are you doing?
Joyzy. That's funny. It's the Jersey accent is interesting because it ties in. I think it ties in with Philadelphia a lot too. I hear a lot of waters in Jersey, a bottle of water.
Well, I'm very fascinated because my favorite filmmaker is Scorsese, and he hires a lot of his tough guy cast from the Jers, which is good because we have that rhythm. It's I'm very fascinated in the way people speak in their patois because I have a very direct, from Hudson County, a lot of periods, very very direct way of speaking.
Right.
But I also love noir and very stylistic language. I think because of that. And my father's accent's incredible. Just your dad has a great accent.
He does. He's from the Bronx.
Nice.
Great accent.
Yeah.
Also star of The Ranger, by the way.
He's a cop in one of the scenes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
He's the white horse coming in to save the day.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I meant that in the best of ways also.
Coming in to ruin the party.
Coming in to ruin everything. Nice. This opener's whack.
We're opening up beers.
Cracking beers.
Yeah.
Well, so it's funny because in the first
episode, all over me.
We had Dennis Knight who writes for Cross, and I was part of when I started the show, it's I wanted to be very casual. I wanted to have beers on the table so people could kind of kick back and relax a little bit and kind of loosen up. A beer always helps with that, I guess. But he just wanted. He came in, sat down, and got a water bottle. And he's drinking water the whole time, and I'm killing a beer, and I'm just this looks so bad that the host of this new show is just putting down beer. So I was very happy to see that.
Well, I'm all about the beer.
I'm all about Diet Coke.
And I'm all about the Brooklyn Lager as well. I went to they did a pre-Comic-Con event. They actually do a lot for Comic-Con. They have a Defender IPA, their own beer for Comic-Con, and I went to an event not too long ago where they released the new superhero that's on the bottle this year, and so they put on a good time, and they're very supportive of sort of the industry.
I feel sad that Jen and I are not going to be at Comic-Con because we're going to be in Spain.
But Glass Eye Picks will be at Comic-Con, so go check out the Glass Eye Picks booth.
Ooh, I definitely will. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there on Thursday.
So make sure you say hi to Larry.
Larry Fessenden will be at the Glass Eye Picks booth. I think he's doing a panel too.
Oh, really? That's so cool. Oh, we can't be there. I am unofficial Glass Eye. That was just for this job, sort of put under their wing. Though I am their booth girl and their carnival barker.
Oh, nice. So do you hit the conventions a lot?
I just they asked me to show up and help merchandise, and I love doing it.
Heather's amazing at selling swag. And And Larry Fessenden, for everybody out there, head of Glass Eye Picks, writer, director, producer, actor. Probably you've seen him in a movie or 2 or 3 or 4 if you watch horror movies.
And you've seen him die a lot.
And he dies a lot. And he plays the uncle in The Ranger.
That's how you get the New York tax credit, is you kill Larry, and they go, here you go.
Wow.
25%.
That's how you do it. Don't do that at Comic-Con though. He's not acting right.
Right. Exactly.
Only show him love.
Yeah.
Which he rightly deserves.
If he's filming a movie, he can kill him, but
Yeah.
if he's running a booth at Comic-Con, leave
Yeah.
him alone.
No,
That's
okay.
sick. What kind of merch is gonna be there? I kind of want a Ranger pin if that exists.
Oh, we do have some Ranger pins. Maybe I should give them to Glass Eye.
Do you have
so they
ones
can
that are
bring
left
them.
over?
Maybe I have to look. But
So
anyway.
we did make for
Yeah.
South by Southwest beautiful Ranger pins. One of the designers on the film, Mr. Lobo, is a horror host, made them, and one is sort of like a reference to Stay Sick, the Cramps with the tiger stripes. One is green that kind of feels like DC hardcore, and one is pink, which is kind of like UK punk. But they're so cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
but we also have like DVDs and Blu-rays. The Larry Fessenden collection, which includes all of his movies, will be available. Posters, just cool props and stuff from the movies.
That's sick. Yeah. So if you're on the floor this weekend, I will definitely be stopping by that booth. Yeah. No, I'm very excited. Have you guys ever done Comic-Con before? Have been as a fan or as a?
I've been there.
I
like
have-
every year.
I have helped just at the Glass Eye booth. I don't think I've been there as a civilian, but I did do genre journalism for about 10 years. So I used to actually love to go to Toy Fair.
Ooh. Okay.
That is the best.
I have
that
never
is the
been,
best
but I've
thing
also
ever.
heard. Really
It's like
cool
you're
things.
kind of like Santa Claus, and you get to see everyone's toys before they come out into the market.
Ooh.
And then your friends ask me, it's like, can you send me live pictures of all the Star Wars toys? They go insane. But I do love going to that. So I do love the geek culture. Not necessarily. I didn't grow up reading real superhero stuff.
Right.
I grew up reading like Nightbreed and Hellraiser comic books. Like I
Sure.
squirrely am like a genre fan. Though I do appreciate some of the, like, Doctor Strange is great,
Right.
and the Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think they're just like a different way of looking at it. And again, like Batman, because of my interest in being an Arkham Asylum villain.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Bat Dick yet?
No.
No. So Batman's dick just got drawn for the first time in a comic, and it's like I actually don't think you can buy the comic anymore because so many people bought it just so they could flip it. And I was lucky enough to come here the day after it was released, and Demetrius had one of the subscribers' copies, and he pulled it out of the drawer. He's like, "Hey, you want to see Bat Dick?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Hashtag back to.
It's not very big if you guys are curious.
Okay.
Which makes a lot of sense because it's like he's really compensating because he's a billionaire, and Batman. is just gonna be a
White,
small
rich
bit.
man.
Yeah.
Small cock. I got you.
I wouldn't say it's small, but it's not impressive.
Yes.
I won't. We shouldn't
The
talk
Joker,
about.
on the other hand.
On the last episode, we talked like extensively about Bat Dick, and it's like it's like the hottest thing in the comic book world right now. It's like Bat Dick, just because like it's wild because it's the first time anybody's seen it, and I don't know. It's weird though because like nudity in comics has existed for a really long time, but as soon as Bruce Wayne,
female nudity. I mean, they're almost nude in their very tight outfits.
that's true, but also like in comics like Watchmen, there's like
That's
sex
Alan
scenes.
Moore. We put him
Yeah.
aside
as like a separate entity.
Totally, yeah.
No, it's true, and he deserves it. I think Sin City too. Frank Miller stuff is there's some nudity in there.
I love
maybe.
Frank Miller.
Yeah.
I have to say when Jen and I were talking about influence, I did mention like RoboCop 2 for a little bit of like the mutants, the Splatterpunk
Absolutely.
mutants, and that kind of layered neon pseudo 80s look, which
And
happens
the
in the
drugs,
Batman world.
too.
Yes. Oh my God.
We have a drug in the Ranger called Echo, which is a fake drug that's like looks like cocaine, but it's powdered pink, and it's the combination of all the best things about drugs.
Interesting.
Yes.
Do you guys have any of that from set? Will that be for sale at Comic-Con? Or
Maybe I have some in my bedroom.
some Echo, just in
Some
case.
Echo.
We'll have to hit the lab to make some real.
Yeah, make some
Yeah.
more Echo.
I'll make some phone calls.
Nice. That's a very interesting theme, and I like that. I like that tie-in. It's sort of it's interesting the genre cross there. Like RoboCop is very much like classified as like action, sci-fi, maybe even. Or if you think of films like Blade Runner, sort of have a similar aesthetic of like, you mean
the layers and layers of things.
Yeah.
I would say that RoboCop 2 would sort of be like the neon 80s version of the layering, because it's like Blade Runner is sort of like of course that noir dystopian layering, and then sort of like you have like the the neon 80s layering of the apocalypse, because it's very true, because there's movies that I'm obsessed with, like Radioactive Dreams,
Right.
that also have like that it's a brightly colored layered apocalypse look,
Yeah.
which is gorgeous, and I think is super punk rock.
It's a very, exactly, and it's a very like charming aesthetic. As far as like,
also I think in 90s Nickelodeon was a lot like that.
how do you mean?
What was it? Things like Remote Control with Dave Coulier, and a lot of like the kids program. It was like a lot of and of course like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, right.
There's a lot of like neon junk on top of neon junk kind of
Yeah.
aesthetic, which is like I think
I
harkening back to a
rewatched,
post-apocalyptic aesthetic.
Pee-wee recently, and
It's a good thing to do.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm very conflicted on him because like he is kind of a creep, right? It's a little weird, but I don't know. But at the same time, I don't know. It's good. It's charming. I like understand why like cinephiles revert back to it. It's like it's not just a kid show. It's like it's a fantastic piece of art.
Well, my favorite kids show growing up was The Adventures of Pete and Pete, which is a show that could do no wrong.
Yeah.
It was okay. My favorite was Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That is good. I watched that. I don't know who's say favorite though.
Are You Afraid of the Dark was like that was like the first horror experience I had as like a 5-year-old child.
Maybe you should get Netflix to pick up that series as a new series, and you could be like, I'll direct it.
I believe they already posted that Jen should. There's something that's out there, and I think it's one of them. I think it's the Goosebumps. Goosebumps.
Oh,
I
really?
tagged, and then I sent you from Tumblr.
I just saw.
How amazing is that?
Like Heather sends me photos and inspiration stuff, and I think it was yesterday I opened up my inbox to find photos of Goosebumps inspo.
Goosebumps on cassette.
Goosebumps aesthetic.
And then it was a Walkman that was also Goosebumps-ized. It had like slime on it.
Slime.
That's sick.
It's gorgeous.
The slime aesthetic.
And I was thinking, like, does the Ranger need its own Walkman?
The R.L. Stein
Yes.
stuff is
Yes.
so weird. The television shows are like very, very weird. And like, I remember reading Goosebumps as a kid too, and being like, I used to get like so scared of them. There's like one where the kid gets a Halloween mask and he puts it on and it like consumes him and he becomes like a demon. And he starts like pulling like these really mean pranks and like hurting people, and then like at some point he like threatens to eat a dog or something like that. And I remember reading it and being like, I don't want to dress up for Halloween anymore because I don't want my costume to like consume me and like I become a demon or something.
Amazing. I mean, that's the best.
It still kind
kind
of scares me when I think about it. Like I remember reading that comic and being really scared, and I'm still like a little bit scared about it.
The best kind of horror for kids is the kind that affects them for the rest of their lives.
It's true, and it's funny because it's weird when have you ever been in an experience where you stumble across something again and it's just as terrifying as when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like
Return to Oz.
Return
Really?
to Oz is disturbing.
It's a scary movie.
Because in itself is a scary movie. I think anyone, any age, any time period, it's a disturbing film.
Yeah.
You
I
think
was
it's
upset
Also,
by
Bruise
it.
of Bulk is just
Watership
scary,
Down is another
whatever
one that I saw as a
age
kid.
she is.
Yeah. Event Horizon I saw way too young, but that's different because that's like gore. Like, you know, it's like just like a disturbing movie.
And the Never-Ending Story.
The Never-Ending Story.
Never-Ending
Goddamn
Story.
Wolf.
Yeah, that's
Gamok.
creepy.
Swamp
No.
of Sorrow. Final Destination affected me deeply. I
The
saw
first
that.
one?
All of them. I saw that when I saw the first one. Maybe when did it come out? In the late '90s. So I was like 10 or 11 years old.
Right.
And the first one and the second one I saw, and both of those, there's things to this day that like when I'm walking down the street, I'll avoid the fire escape because I don't want it to come crashing down on my head. And obviously, like when I get on a plane, I check the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's like things that I watched in those movies. Oh, the water from the second one. There was that like big car crash that happens because the water bottle like rolls under the brake. So anytime I'm driving, I make sure there's no water bottles on the ground. Like Final Destination series like affected the way I live my day-to-day life.
That's amazing. I actually, it's so funny you brought that up because I was about to say the same thing. About 2 years ago, I sat down. I was in between apartments. I was staying at a buddy's couch in Crown Heights. Shout out to Pat Keenan. And every night we would like kill a 12 or a PBR and watch a Final Destination movie while I was staying with him. And so we got through the whole series. And I had never watched them sequentially like that before. Like I'd seen one here. I think I skipped 3, which actually 3 is fantastic. And then I never watched them all together. And like it was so cool to like and like we were getting drunk and so like we were like laughing at them and stuff, but it was like such a good time. Those movies are so satisfying, the way that things come to fruition, and like the comedy that's underlying in those movies is also really satisfying. I was also gonna say Independence Day, the scene where the alien controls like the doctor and makes him speak, like still, like when I was a kid I remember watching Independence Day and loving that movie, but that scene I would like cry because it was like so disturbing. I watched it recently, I was like, oh my god, that's really messed up. Like, it's like, and that's, I feel like that's good horror. Like that's like when it, even as an adult, you're like, oh, like when you're a kid you're scared of things, but when you see it as an adult you're like, no, that's scary, like it's weird. It's like, man, they nailed it, you know?
There's a scene in Killer Clowns from Outer Space where the clown makes the police officer guy talk, which is maybe one of my favorite moments of that movie.
Maybe that's just a scary mechanic in general.
Yeah.
Of like, and it makes sense. It's like kind of perverse and like strange to be embodied by something else, I guess. I don't know. It's a messed up idea.
I'm not scared of any of these things you guys are mentioning, but
Wow.
it's fascinating hearing about it.
Yeah. What are you scared of, Heather? It's like.
What is Heather Buckley afraid of?
Yeah.
Well,
That's the name of the episode. What is?
I like incredibly disturbing things. So when I think about being a free range horror kid and watching the falling apart of Brundlefly and the Fly.
Yeah.
And the poltergeist scene of the guy peeling off his face.
Yeah.
And just disturbing films along the way, like watching Happiness with My Father, which I should have never done. The Ton Sullins film is incredibly cruel and hurtful, and I think when I was at Film 4 and I was watching 8 Michael Haneke films over 3 days and watching 7 Continent, that was like the end. It's like I cannot watch any more of this bleakness. But for me, I look for bleak and disturbing things.
Yeah.
Because I love the monster Halloween imagery, so it's hard to have like a killer clown like puppeting someone and me not going like, look at the killer clown, how cute, the Secchioto brothers, they did that work. So it's hard for me to do that. And the horror series that I watched were Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters. With Tales from the Dark Side, because there was sort of like a low rent feeling for it, they were slightly disturbing and unnerving because they're so claustrophobic,
right.
And just the budgets were so low that it just kind of felt slightly more documentary style. And it's like, this stuff is weird.
Yeah, that is interesting how the budget. I feel like that's so prominent in like all horror films where it's like. It's almost the effect of like if you keep throwing money at a project, it just comes off.
It's like punk
lame.
rock music.
Yeah.
Going in there and overproducing it.
Right.
When the best stuff is recorded live on a 4-track.
Well, I think that's why we all prefer like practical effects to CGI.
Totally, and like I think that's true, but I also think that horror has like just like a tendency to like take things too far, and sometimes it comes back around. Like if you look at like Nightmare on Elm Street, the series and stuff, like first one's fantastic, the one with the dream catchers is okay, the rest kind of suck, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare comes back and revives the series, and that's really, really cool. But it's like they're like, oh, this first one was great, money at it, it's lame now, like no one likes this, it wasn't popular when it came out, it's not popular now. I mean, like I don't know, I like watching like shitty horror movies too, so it's.
What are your favorite shitty horror movies?
I'm a big Lloyd Kaufman guy. I like The Toxic Avenger a lot.
Okay. He's from Jersey.
Yeah, the Jersey.
Choma Village in Jersey.
I've heard he's a really nice guy too. I've never met him, but I was weird because I went to film school at Pace University, and there was a guy a few years ahead of me named Josh Kennedy who loved making B horror films, and he was a really talented guy and always like. He was good with people, so he was always able to like strum up enough people around to like put a project together, which is a super talent. I think like it's something I have trouble doing that I admire greatly in others, because it's like being able to call on friends for favors and make them passionate about the project also is like insane and like one of the most important things you can do. But he used to hang out with Lloyd Kaufman all the time. It was like very strange, like him, like he'd post pictures like him and Lloyd Kaufman like hanging out in Central Park, and he seems like just like the zaniest, sweetest old man. But yeah, so Toxic Avenger is a big one, and that whole series of like Lloyd Kaufman. I really like, as far as like really shitty B horror movies go, I don't know. I'm a big, see, some of these aren't shitty though. Like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, I'm a big fan of. John Carpenter's Halloween, I'm a big fan of. But I think those are both fantastic movies also.
Those are.
But they're just dated.
I wouldn't call those shitty B movies in the slightest. Those are like classics.
Yeah.
I would call them classics.
Maybe maybe like the too many Friday the 13th. Like I like the shitty remakes that they make in they made in the 2000s.
I like part 7.
Part 7.
Most favorite Jason. But I was gonna say with the trauma stuff is that something that we don't really discuss so much when we talked about the Ranger is that some of our extras in the punk sequence are from Trauma.
Is that
So
true?
we've created like a Glass Eye Picks Trauma crossover, and one of the ladies in the bathroom is a Traumette. So there is
That's
some
insane.
trauma. Yeah, because again, Mr. Lobo.
Are you hinting at a multiverse here?
Yes.
Is the Ranger 2 going to be like
it
the
is a
Toxic Avenger show?
multiverse of Trauma and Glass Eye and
That's
River.
wild. That's so cool that you guys are bringing that back.
Yeah, Lobo invited the Trauma people, and they invited each other. And then Jen needed a particular scene in the movie, and I said, "I'm telling your dad, but I'll find someone to do it." And she is she's a Trauma.
That's awesome.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Wow, wait.
Crisis on Infinite Rangers.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. What other influences do you think come into the Ranger?
Oh man, what are we not influenced by? I'm just influenced by like living on this earth at the time that we're living in right now. There's certainly a political element
Yeah.
to it.
Well, I think one of the biggest inspirations of the Ranger, which cannot be talked about enough, is the style and character of the final girl in this movie.
Yeah.
Because she's not the pure girl from the suburbs. that
Definitely.
survive.
She's not your typical virginal final girl. She's definitely not a virgin, that's for sure. And I mean, she's just dealing with some
She does
stuff.
drugs. She wears leather. She doesn't take her clothes off.
Yeah.
And it's fine to take your clothes off, but
I mean, it's fine. It's just this movie doesn't capture a moment when she's in the mood to take her clothes off. But
Right.
you know,
Sure.
had the movie taken place like 2 weeks before, she would have been.
Right.
Just in this
Yes.
in this moment that the movie.
well, I think because you're playing against the trope. The trope is like, I have a beautiful girl. She must get naked.
Actually, she does. She takes her clothes off in one
Yeah.
scene, but it's for herself. It's not for
Right.
a dude, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also stylistically, I was very inspired by the art of Lisa Frank. If you're familiar with Lisa Frank.
I am slightly, yeah.
Yeah, so when I was 8 years old, I was a big fan of Lisa Frank. I had all of her binders and notebooks and stickers.
Nice.
And I wanted to see a horror movie with a Lisa Frank aesthetic, with these like neons and pinks and blues and glitter, lots of glitter. We put glitter in the blood.
Really?
Yeah, our makeup effects guy, Brian Spears, he told us that in Lost Boys, they put glitter in the blood. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh my God, we have to have glitter in our blood. That's so perfect. So we really tried to really like fill it in with this Lisa Frank aesthetic as much as possible.
That's awesome.
And if you go to punk shows, which is interesting because the Lisa Frank aesthetic, like punk shows, their colors are always Lisa Frank. Like after seeing like Jenn's film, I realized that every punk show I've gone to uses that color palette of like the blues and the hot pinks together on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
So punk itself is like Lisa Frank.
Right, and it goes into that like neon apocalyptic aesthetic that we were discussing
Right.
earlier as well.
And like Gem, another
Right.
reference, you know.
Going back a little bit to, and we don't talk about this a whole lot if you guys don't want to, but like the political influence of the film. I mean, just like reading the synopsis, this ranger is sort of a conservative role, these punk kids more of a liberal role, and obviously there's a clash.
Yeah,
Just like on
absolutely.
a base level.
On a base level, that's the story. And then I think as you're watching, you begin to realize that, you know, you have the ranger telling Chelsea what she should be, and you have her friends telling her what she should be. And the story is really about, Chelsea trying to just listen to herself.
Right.
And which is something I think we can all identify with. We all
Especially
feel
as
like,
women.
especially as women, we all feel like we're, we have to be a certain thing. If we want a certain thing, we're supposed to be a certain thing. And I certainly was going through that while I was writing The Ranger, and I was just kind of taking all the stuff I was going through on my day-to-day and
Right.
putting it into the character, and then, trying to find
Well, search for
resolution
identity and
through that.
strength and the oppression of society is what all women have dealt
Yeah.
with since we're born.
And we're dealing with it right now
At
in a
this
very
very
big
second.
way.
Constantly.
Yes, especially this week. With the-
Yeah. It's wild. Did you guys watch SNL this week?
Yes. Well, no, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the Matt Damon scene, which was awesome.
It's actually a really good episode. I'd recommend so it's funny, like a slight backstory, my wife is from Ireland, and so she came when she moved to New York, she had never heard of SNL before.
Wow.
And so we had to backlog SNL, and like I had to show her like what good SNL was, what bad SNL was. And so now when the new season came out, we were obviously very excited to watch it together, and it's a fantastic season opener. But yeah, Jesus Christ, like lifting weights and drinking beers with the boys, what is going on?
I know, seriously.
And the whole thing with the regulator, and it's like, it's insane. No, it's probably one of the weirdest political times we've ever been in, because I just feel like maybe I was too young, I don't know, but everything seems such a mess. It's like just a big mess.
Everyone seems like they're just not listening to their consciousness. They're just fucking acting based on what they think.
When you have money and power, you don't have to, because what are the repercussions of anyone doing anything? And what this time is telling us is that you can hurt women, you can,
Or that's what they're trying to express, that like it's just like we're really in charge. We're the people in power.
Yes, but I think the inverse of that is that they're horrible people that are in power, and there's no repercussions for their past and what they've done and how they've hurt people, and the no repercussions is that they're in incredible positions of power.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can hurt women, you can say things about, minorities and what's going on.
Sure, or even
prejudiced piece of shit asshole, and you can still go like, look, I'm president.
Right. And even like taking like, as much as I agree with that, taking a step back from that, you're getting people who aren't qualified for their jobs at the end of the day, which it's like the government's a business, right? And you have all these people who have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Like, it's like, and it's insane to me that this money and this power is not only this horrible source of oppression, but it's not getting anything done either. You know what I mean? Like, there's no forward movement in any sense because of it, and that's maybe what I find the most disturbing. Just taking the oppression as a given. Do you know what I mean?
It's all a circus right now.
Yeah,
it's all
it's
ridiculous. Like, it's.
Well, I think it's a search for people wanting someone outside of the system, and then they just go like, let's hire these people who are out of the system who don't have the experience, but they're a different kind of bad than the stasis that we had before of like politics as usual.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna just keep making these movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
That focus on these types of characters. And fuck those guys.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's funny because so when I started doing these kind of projects, I did college radio, and we did a show the day after Trump got elected, and my co-host Ben Benessi made the note that it was like, I asked, is there anything positive that's going to come out of this? And he said, yeah, art. It's like when Vietnam happened, like art came out. It was like this cultural explosion, and so that's something positive that will come out of this, because when you have a French press coffee and you like push the grinds down really hard.
No, I wish what would come out of this is people would pay the fuck attention, because people are just surprised that this happened, and it's like, where were you in your entire life seeing what's going on, seeing racism, oppression, class war, and all that stuff like that?
No, it's true. But art, I think, is a catalyst to help people understand that, maybe.
Yeah, but it feels like we're moving backwards. Like we could have made fine art, like, where we were, and then moved us even more forward. But now we're moving, like, a couple of steps backwards. And
what I would hope a lot of the art, a lot of the punk rock music I listen to, it's like they've sung about this shit for years.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
And that nobody listened. Well, I guess punk rock people listen, but more people, civilians, need to listen what's going on and be awake and not let this happen again.
Absolutely. No, I think like it's encouraged me at the least to be more politically in tune, because I never really gave a shit
that's what
before.
we need. That's what we need is.
And now it's like I should give a shit,
and now we all have to give a shit. Now every single person is responsible.
Right, and it's important. I like. Not only is this discussion very important, I think it's like if you're with your friends, I think it's important to talk about politics. Everybody's like, oh, you might offend someone, but it's like, no, it's like we've been sitting around too long not talking about it because we were afraid we were going to offend somebody. So you should talk about politics. I think it's very important.
The other side likes to be super offensive, so.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've encountered some on both sides. I think it's important to have an opinion for yourself, though. Also, I think it's very easy to be influenced by your friends on politics, and it's like you need to try to find what you take as the source material, which is hard in itself with fake news and all that shit. But
Yes, everyone should stop paying attention to their Facebook feeds, which just feeds you with lies.
I don't do Facebook
and
anymore
echo
because
chambers
of, it.
of whatever. I'm like so careful with what I click on Facebook because I know that whatever I click on is just going to be fed back to me. So I actively don't click on like
Right.
Is that why my
poison.
Facebook feed is filled with like, oh my god, it's October 1st, it's Halloween?
Yeah, but just
That's
fill
what
your
it is.
Facebook
Yeah,
feeds with
that's
Halloween
It really is.
and movie stuff. And
Yeah.
Well, on social media, all my political friends come from the punk rock world, so I just go to their pages, specifically my friend Steve, and
Right.
see what's going on. But my main social media thing is people's beautiful art and inspiration and what is there at the Michaels store during Halloween. So it's that world. But I think that's what fuels, because you can't get down, right? You can't sink into the swamp of sorrow. You got to be surrounded by all like the Michaels Halloween imagery, so you could fight another day.
fight another day.
Yes,
Fight
and
another
that will fuel us. All
Do
the
you guys
art and music.
know what you're going to be for Halloween?
I want it to be the Marquis de Sade.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yes.
I do not have a costume yet. I phoned it in last year too. I like went to Party City the day
Can't we
before
help you?
and got it. Yeah,
we
you guys can
we
help
should
me.
help. So, what are your favorite horror characters?
Toxic Avenger.
Is there something from Tromaville?
Be the
that you could
Toxic
be?
Avenger.
I could be the Toxic Avenger.
Have you
That'd
done
be
that
sick.
before?
I've never done that before.
You should do that.
I'm not really good. Like,
You can get
So-
a mask.
I could get a mask. I don't know. The thing is, the mask. I don't like going to Party City and like spending so much money
What
on
about
that. 'Cause I gotta
what
have
about
plans.
Halloween Adventure in New York City? That's like the best, coolest place on earth, and it has
See,
like two
I
floors.
haven't had two horror fans on the show to say, hey, here's a really awesome shop to go to. So
We're here to help
There
you
you
out.
go.
And there's also Abracadabra, which I love. That's sort of like a B-side, which is very cool. And I make sure when I'm around that I try to hit all the horror places and all the haunts I could go to. But like, yeah.
I'm gonna write both of those down after we get off the air. I'll ask you again.
And then there's also the internet where you could just get a rubber toxie mask,
Yeah,
and then get a tutu and a mop, and it's there.
it's there. But I don't know what to do. But I never do anything.
Walk
on
the
Halloween.
parade. I walk the parade. If you walk the parade, you're sort of in the nucleus of the most hardcore loving Halloween ever. Like all of the
Really?
Halloween energy is focused on the
Yeah.
Halloween parade. And when I'm around,
Because like Halloween house parties are lame, and like no one cares about the costumes.
you gotta
or
walk. You
representation.
gotta walk and have everyone take pictures of you. And sometimes, because I'm in Jersey City, so you don't get a lot of trick or treaters, is that I bring bags of candy with me and I give it to the kids along the route. That's what
That's
you should
so
do. So you're gonna
sweet.
Toxic Avenger. Don't let that get around. I'm a nice person. So Toxic Avenger.
With
and
a
then
mop and a bucket.
Yeah,
Got
and
the
you-
candy in the bucket.
See, and you can put like glitter and candy in the bucket. So when you put it out, like you have like good like a rainbow
Just
thing.
don't have kids accidentally eat glitter.
Well, I would think the confetti that you could get at Party City,
Confetti,
like
that's
the
better.
big sort of thing, because you also want to do the dramatic of sort of like throwing it to them, and it's like that.
I almost feel like it'd be weird to give a kid in New York candy on Halloween though.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird if you're just a guy dressed up like the
Dressed like
Toxic
the
Avenger.
I'm telling you,
giving kids
there are pictures of me
candy.
with the kids being so
It's
happy.
a little different, but you were dressed up like the guy from Mindhunter last year, so it's kind of the same.
I did not give out candy while
Did you
dressed.
really dress as the guy from Mindhunter?
I was dressed as Ed Kemper. Yes.
It's so good. You should
Wow.
post a photo on.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah. We'll.
Because
set
I'm
some links
tall.
in this
I'm
video.
tall and I have these glasses. So.
Right.
It was so good.
Wow. That's awesome.
Did you give kids candy dressed as Ed Kemper?
I did not, because my arms were shackled to my side. But I
Yeah.
have other years done it.
So I don't know if it's a good idea or not to give kids,
Kids candy.
candy
I would love to
from
because
your
like
bucket as
in
a
the most
Toxic
wholesome
Avenger.
way possible. I'd love to
Or-
participate.
You could be actually the hero and not give candy, but give like the little toys, like you get at Target, like the little plastic toys. Because like people who give candy and kids are excited, but when you get little items when you trick or treat,
That's true.
Mind blowing.
Like the spider rings, the plastic
Yeah,
spider
yeah.
rings that you always got when
I don't know.
was
As a kid, I was not into those. As a kid, I was
Really?
like, what the fuck?
What's the favorite Halloween candy all around the table?
I like candy corn because it's iconic, but I will not eat candy corn any other time of the year besides like right before Halloween.
That's important. I
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that because I mean my wife loves candy corn too, and she's from Ireland, so she had never had it before, and so seeing like a grown woman's face trying candy corn for the first time was probably one of the greatest moments of my life. She was like, "Oh my god, like this is incredible!" I was like, "Yeah, it's just sugar." She's like, "I know, it's just sugar," and she's like 10 minutes later she had a stomach ache. But like it's fantastic. But if you eat it other times during the year, it makes it less special. It has to
Yeah.
be like a special.
It has to be right before Halloween.
Right.
That's
mini
it.
Snickers.
Mini Snickers.
Snickers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
So good.
That's fantastic. That'll be linked below this video, by the way, so you can definitely
The
see
image
that.
of Heather Buckley as A. Kemper. Yes.
Yes.
That's incredible.
It's so
What a
good.
disturbing thing to. I'm so glad you didn't give any candy to any kids like during that.
Not many people knew who I was, but when they did, they would yell out.
What
which
did
was
you
nice.
look like when you gave candy to kids?
I was one costume was I was Holy Death, which is sort of folk saint of Mexico, who I very much love and is all around my house. So before it blew up and it was big and a lot of people knew about it, I sort of was like a female Grim Reaper figure.
Oh.
And there's pictures of me, little kids being happy, giving them. I love that. 'Cause a lot of the Mexican community would come to me, go like, La Flaca, La Flaca. I want to take pictures of me. It's beautiful. But I love her iconography. Santa Muerte.
I just moved into a building with like 44 units, and I know there's kids in the building, so maybe they'll trick or treat. That would be so fun.
They don't. They go to the mall and just
Do that.
yeah, because like in Jersey City, they just go from shop to shop. So you have to be down with your little candy things, but they don't go inside the house because it's far more creepy to go inside.
But that's part of Halloween.
Yeah.
That's the joy of Halloween. Is like, am I gonna get
Yeah.
kidnapped or not?
Am I gonna die tonight? I don't know. Halloween.
It's like so many good. I grew up in the suburbs and I have so many wonderful memories of like
Yes.
going up to the creepy house down the street and like ringing it and
Right.
like them, you know.
Yeah, I know. I grew up down south, and it was the same thing of like, you know, mostly suburban neighborhoods of like your parents are like, oh, stay in the neighborhood. It's like, yeah, mom, fuck you. Like, I'm going across the street to Kenway Loop where the good houses are, and like
Yeah.
they're creepy. And
My
weird.
whole house, since I was a young girl, was wonderfully decorated for Halloween with hand-done gravestones, and then I would drag twigs from the swamp and put lights all over them, and had like this beautiful Grim Reaper, the Grim Reaper from Baron Munchausen, and then I would decorate the entire house and put pumpkins with nails in them and all sorts of cobwebs. And when I left, I remember the kids would go like, "How come your house is not decorated anymore?" to my mom, and it's like, "Oh, the girl who did that left." But it was very important for me to do that, to sort of.
Yeah.
And I think like looking at Martha Stewart's Halloween of all stuff, to see the sort of care and couture she would put in her work was very inspirational. So though I live in an awesome like auditorium apartment, I do think about one day having a Victorian mansion only to have a front yard to redecorate.
You could just rent one for the month of October
It
every
just
year.
decorate the front. It would take 1 month for me to do the entire lawn. I remember my father like bringing, because he was a construction worker, like, having like his crew cut headstones for me.
But
That's
I would
awesome.
say going trick-or-treating at a mall, like, you're not doing it right.
It's
Kids,
not right.
don't let your parents trick you into this. And parents, don't do that to your children.
Yeah.
They need to have the suburban sort of Amblin Spielberg experience
Yeah.
of trick-or-treating. Like E.T. That's what it should
Like
feel
Hocus Pocus.
The best movie.
Best movie.
Hocus Pocus.
Shout out Mick Garris.
Love McGarren.
Oh man, it's like that's the thing though, because it's like a big party. It's like everybody's out. It's like the world's biggest block party Halloween when in the suburbs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what do they do at the mall though? They go to stores. And they
Yeah,
get-
you go from store to store. It's
That's
bullshit.
ridiculous.
Bullshit. Even in Park Slope, I live near 7th Avenue, where there's a lot of stores, and I find we don't get that many like doorbell rings. The kids go to 7th Avenue, go from store to store.
Yeah, that being said, I do understand why it's different in New York though, because it's weird. It's like you don't necessarily know your neighbors in New York. In the suburbs, you know your neighbors generally.
Every year I buy candy, and nobody rings my doorbell. And I just sit there waiting.
And then you just have to eat it all.
Then I just have to eat. Then the candy just sits in my cabinet for months and months and months until finally in January I'm like, I feel like we should throw this away.
Yeah. The best is like day after Halloween CVS sales in the city on candy. You can
I like to
stock
go
up.
to Target to buy things for my house,
Yeah.
because it's decorated all year long.
Do you think the Target decorations are good or superior?
I think they're superior. I'm also in Jersey City, so I'm able to get to the Target closer.
Oh,
I like
okay. I'm right by Barclay Center, so the Target over there is also pretty.
I need the lights.
Stocked.
The lights are important because I have a lot of Halloween lights in the house. So you want to get those on sale. And
But
any
you
sort of
so
doodads.
you live in a house, not an apartment. Though.
I live in an apartment, but it is 1,000 square feet, shotgun apartment from like pre-war.
Oh,
So the idea to
wow.
make it look like an auditorium with like, you know, glass old vintage shelves and like all my stuff in back and all my sort of like saints and artifacts and oddities are throughout the house.
Right.
So part of that is that sort of decor that I
That's
put
sick.
there. They recently did an article on me of Bust magazine for satanic feminism, and like when the photographer went to the house, it's like, oh my god. It's like, yeah.
This is me now. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I love to be, because all that stuff isn't, I like to be surrounded by things that inspire me. I think that's also why I dress a certain ways, because when I look at myself in the mirror, it's like, that inspires me and reminds me of who I am, and just to continue creating art and narrative within that milieu.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And on that, so we'll wrap up in a second here, but a big thing I ask of anybody who comes on the show is advice for creators, is because it's young creators. This is obviously your first directorial project. It seems like the biggest project the two of you have worked on, and I might be wrong in saying that, but it seems like it's doing really well, and you guys are traveling a lot with it, and it has something of a pretty large audience from what I've gathered. What's your advice to young people who are trying to make movies, trying to write comics, trying to do whatever makes them tick?
My advice is to keep going and just do it, and not to steal Nike's logo. But anyway, just fucking do it, and don't listen to your insecurities, don't listen to your doubts. Just keep going, and you don't give up.
Well, that was almost going to give something that I would go, but I'll give a piece of management advice since I'm a producer. If you go into management in film or any sort of creative management situation, make sure that you see yourself as someone sort of at the bottom, holding everything up, and making sure that you created an environment that is ethical and safe always. I think it is an incredible position as a manager in the creative world to do that, and that's why you should be there. And if that's not what you want to do, don't go into that line of work.
Right.
But you should be lifting everyone up and helping everyone.
Yeah.
That should always be your position on the project if you choose to be like a producer or creative director or anything like that.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for coming on. It was a really fun episode. And thank you guys for listening. We'll be here next week. We don't have anybody booked yet, but it'll be a show. It'll be on. It'll be here. And hopefully you guys will tune in for that. Make sure you come by Anyone Comics if you want to pick up some comics. Check out the shop. There's Sunday drawing classes for kids. Drunken Draw last end of every month. Last Tuesday of every month. Yeah. And thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys again for coming on. And that's that.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.